Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking at, well, the future of quantum computing investments. It's fascinating stuff.
It really is. And we've got this interesting piece from the Motley Fool asking a big question.
Right, about IonQ, the quantum company that shot up recently.
Mm-hmm.
Will they stay on top for the next decade?
Or will the big tech players we all know actually end up ahead? That's the core of it.
The article's called Prediction: 3 Quantum Computing Stocks That Will Be Worth More Than IonQ 10 years from now. Came out just recently.
Yeah, and our goal today really is to pull out the main arguments. Why might Alphabet, IBM, and Nvidia be, let's say, stronger long-term bets here?
And we want to do that without getting bogged down in, super technical stuff or complex financial talk.
Exactly. Find those key insights, the moments that make you go, okay, I get it. For you, the listener.
Okay, so let's start with IonQ. They definitely made waves. The article mentions their stock price. What was it, under $7 to over $51?
In just 4 months, back in 2024. Yeah, incredible jump.
That's pretty wild growth. What was fueling that, according to the article? What was the vibe around quantum then?
Well, it points mostly to just huge investor excitement. A real belief that quantum was like right around the corner, ready to change everything.
A lot of hype then.
A lot of hype, definitely. But the article also brings up the cool down early in 2025. Some industry insiders basically said, hold on, useful quantum computers, probably more like 20 years away.
Oof. A bit of a reality check.
A big one. And it really highlights something crucial when you're looking at these new technologies, doesn't it? The timeline can be longer than people hope.
Yeah, that makes sense. So this context helps explain how the article sees IonQ, right? They call them an early leader.
Which they are, technically. They got out there early.
But then it says their actual business operations right now are minimal. That sounds less promising for the long haul.
It does raise questions. Being first is great, but the article suggests their chance of becoming a, quote, massive powerhouse is more of a long shot.
A long shot. Okay.
It underlines that gap,
Yeah.
between cool tech and, well, actually making money consistently. It's a big jump.
So the article's pretty blunt then, calling IonQ stock very speculative and incredibly overvalued in 2025.
Yeah, they don't mince words. It sounds like, yes, you could make a fortune, maybe,
Right.
but the odds might actually favor a less exciting outcome for investors, which kind of sets up the next part of their argument.
Right, why these other big companies might be the safer, maybe smarter play.
Exactly. Which brings us to the heavyweights, as you called them. Alphabet, IBM, Nvidia, names we obviously know well.
We do, but maybe not the first names you think of for quantum computing specifically.
Maybe not, but the article makes this really bold claim. They will be worth much more than IonQ in 2035, just like they are today.
That is bold, especially in tech where things change so fast.
It is. But the key is, the article argues they're already big players in quantum right now. It's not just a future plan.
Okay, so they're already involved, maybe more than people realize.
And they have these huge, diverse businesses already making money, which gives them a foundation IonQ just doesn't have.
Let's break that down. Start with Alphabet, Google, quantum AI. The article says they sparked the boom back in late 2024.
Yeah, they seem to have lit the fuse. They developed this error correction model.
Error correction. Why was that such a big deal?
Well, quantum systems are super sensitive, prone to errors. It's a massive headache. So showing you can actively correct those errors, it's a huge step. The article calls it one small step, maybe downplaying it a bit.
But significant nonetheless.
Very significant. It proved the technology was getting more robust. And then they also showed a quantum computer doing a specific task way, way beyond what any normal supercomputer could ever do. Like, not even possible.
The quantum advantage thing.
Exactly that.
Right.
Demonstrating that potential really got investors excited about the whole field, which lifted IonQ too, but Google showed the underlying progress.
Okay, so Google makes some tangible breakthroughs. What about IBM? What's their story in quantum?
IBM's been plugging away at this for a long time, maybe a bit quieter sometime.
A bit more under the radar.
Yeah, they've actually been selling access to their quantum computers over the cloud for years now. That's pretty important for getting people to actually use the tech.
Right, making it accessible.
And like Google, they build their own hardware too. Plus, the article notes they hold the most quantum patents of any U.S. company.
Wow, okay. More patents than anyone else in the U.S.
Yeah, their main competition on the research front seems to be coming out of China. So that patent portfolio, it really shows a deep, long-term investment. Maybe not as flashy as one big experiment, but it signals seriousness.
Definitely suggests they're in it for the long haul. Now, Nvidia, They're mentioned, but the article says they don't actually make quantum chip.
Correct. Nvidia's angle is different, but still really crucial.
How so?
They're focused on the software and the processing systems needed to connect today's computers with tomorrow's quantum ones, sort of building the operating system or the tools you need to actually program and use a quantum computer.
So the bridge between digital and quantum.
Exactly, the essential glue. And it also mentions their CEO, Jensen Huang, has kind of tempered expectations a bit, saying truly game-changing quantum systems are still a ways off.
Providing that dose of realism again.
Right, a more grounded view of the timeline.
Okay, so when you put it all together, the argument for backing Alphabet, IBM, and Nvidia seems to be less about just their quantum work.
And more about their overall strength, yeah. Their core businesses are solid, profitable.
Which means they can afford the long, expensive R&D process for quantum. But even if there are bumps in the road.
Precisely. They can absorb failures or delays in quantum research in a way that a pure-play company like IonQ probably couldn't. Its survival isn't solely dependent on quantum succeeding quickly.
That makes sense. And that diversification point seems key. You mentioned Nvidia riding the AI wave.
Huge revenues there, yeah. Alphabet, too, is massive in AI, plus their search and ad business is dominant.
And IBM. They've been around forever. Huge portfolio.
Over a century. They do everything from consulting to software to hardware. So quantum is like another potential growth area for them, but not the only one.
So they have multiple ways to win, essentially.
That's the core idea in the article. Quantum is a potentially huge bonus for them, an upside, but their value isn't tied only to that. It gives them resilience.
Which is why the article concludes it's not really controversial to predict they'll still be worth more than IonQ in 10 years.
Yeah, it frames it as the more probable, stable outcome based on current fundamentals and resources.
Okay, so summing up this deep dive, looking at this Motley Fool piece, the takeaway is IonQ, definitely exciting, a pioneer, no doubt.
But the argument is that the established giants, Alphabet, IBM, Nvidia, are already major quantum players and have much stronger, more diversified businesses.
Giving them a big advantage for the long, uncertain road ahead in quantum development. They're potentially the more stable, valuable bet over the next decade.
That's the case the article makes, yeah. Their overall financial health isn't solely riding on this one emerging technology. It's a safer profile.
All right, so here's something for you, the listener, to think about. When you look at these groundbreaking technologies like quantum computing, high risk, potentially high reward, but often very long development times, how does that shape your investment thinking?
Does focusing on companies with proven success, diverse income streams, does that feel like a more sensible way to navigate these really exciting but kind of uncertain frontiers?
Definitely something to chew on as we watch this incredible field evolve. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.